As a kid, what was your worst shit, my parents are going to kill me moment? I tripped my little sister and she broke her arm. Amazing, she told everyone that she tripped over a stick, and she kept up the lie for 15 years, until we were both out of college. When I tried to throw a large stone over mom's car, I could not throw it over the car. In 4th grade I drew some sexual scenes thinking I was the coolest kid in the world. I got caught by the teacher, so I ran toward the trash and threw the paper. The teacher ignored it, so I thought it was over. Later that day I am in the teacher office, my dad was there, the drawing on the table. My life flashes before me. When I was about 10 years old, it was a couple days before July 4th, so we had a bunch of fireworks sitting around. We had some piccolo peats, these horrible fireworks that just screech loudly for 10 seconds and do nothing else, and I took it in the backyard. Now about 10 minutes beforehand, my mom had told me not to light off any fireworks before the 4th. So I'm out there playing with my magnifying glass burning leaves and shit, and I decide to see if the magnifying glass can light a firework wick. But of course, I was going to stop it before it actually went off. So I see sparks flying, and I panic. I drop the magnifying glass and run inside, where I meet face to face with my mom. She takes one look at me and says, "What did you do?" So I just stand there for a couple seconds sweating bullets, knowing what's about to happen. Then from the backyard you hear the unholy screeching of the firework begin to sound. You could see the look on her face slowly change from, "I know you're up to something," to "You're a fucking idiot." I don't know if this counts for kid, but when I was 15 I took my dad's car at 3 a.m. to pick up this chick. When I got to her house I saw that my car had a flat tire. I called them, told them what I did and where I was, because I didn't really know how to drive, and didn't want to drive on a flat. They were pissed. When I was around 6 years old, the doctors had to have a pin put into one of my fingers to straighten it out. During school at lunch I pulled it out because I could. I soon realized I was fucked, and they had to put another back in. When I was awake. When I was 5 years old, I jumped off a second-floor balcony with an unfurled umbrella, hoping to fly like my hero Mary Poppins, but of course I didn't experience flight. I broke my ankle on impact and ended the afternoon as a fat child weeping on the ground. I got caught shoplifting when I was 13. Stealing video games. The worst part was that my dad worked for the railroad and was gone, so I had to wait over 24 hours for my punishment. My punishment was digging all the holes for fence posts around an acre and a half of land from sunrise to sunset. It took me most of my summer vacation, and I lost touch with a lot of friends because of it. When I was 13, I got a new laser pointer. I'd get bored and shine it in people's windows at night for just a second, just enough to mess with their heads. One night a cop showed up on my porch and threatened to take me to jail. My mother was not amused. Similar-ish story. In 2010 I was in China traveling with the school city travel club. One friend of mine bought a very powerful laser pointer, and was shining it out the hotel window for half an hour or so. Then 3 advisors showed up at our door, saying that if we didn't cut that shit out the hotel staff was going to call the cops. Not me, but when my brother was 17 he backed his truck up into my dad's 1951 Pontiac. Now my dad bought this car when he was a teenager and spent years fixing it up, and was always really careful with it. My brother was so scared to tell him that he didn't come home for a week. We were young, and took my GF's father's car for a spin into town. Avoided cops and had a great night, rushed it back to the garage in time for the prefect crime. He walks in, and we are all smug in the knowledge we had got away with something major. Until he asks why his car is wet when it's been garaged all night. I really thought we were in for it, but he laughed it off, before pulling me aside and advising me if we ever did it again, he would have my balls as a hood ornament. When I was about 7 or 8 my mom worked at a dollar store run by my grandpa. It was in the next town over from where we lived, and so my mom would bring me to work with her. To pass the time I would play with random toys from the store. These toys included the lighter I managed to snag. I'd spend my days burning cardboard boxes out back and putting them out. You can imagine my terror when the store itself was lit up by a box I hadn't fully extinguished. TLDR. My career as a pyro ended in the 90s when I burned down a dollar store. I came home stoned as fuck, and when I entered the kitchen I saw a bag of cookies one of my parents did for some friends being really hungry. I thought nobody would notice if I ate some of them. I accidentally destroyed the bag, and half of the cookies landed on the ground. This happened 2 hours ago. I made a slingshot out of a piece of wood and some elastic. Thought I should test it out by shooting the back window of my parents' van. Slingshot worked. I was cooking in our microwave. In my defense, it was an old microwave, and it suddenly started making weird crackling noises. I looked in, and the interior roof has a small fire right in the middle. So I did the only thing an 8-year-old would do. I yelled fire and sprinted out of the house, and left my mum, who had to run out of the shower, to put it out. Made phone calls to online sex story hotline. After finished listening, I heard another click on the phone of my mum hanging up. She was listening to me listening to online phone sex stories on the other line. Then at the end of the month a $300 phone bill came. Edit. I was 11. Edit again. No cliffhangers. Right after this my parents gave me my first and also huge sex talk. I was really too young for getting into this type of trouble. It made the whole rest of the week awkward. As punishment I had to apologize, give up my pocket money for a year. Also my Asian parents used this to pressure me into studying for A grades. The worst part was just as the awkward phase passed the phone bill came, which completely restarted the my parents are going to kill me process again.